All right, so how many of you all growing up, or maybe still, I don't know, how many of you guys had a security blanket? Come on, raise your hand. Don't act like you didn't, all right? I know, guys, I know y'all had a security blanket. You probably still got it in your closet. Your wife won't let you get it out. It's all right. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit today about having security blankets in our business and how you need to get rid of those, okay? Just a little bit about me. Camelia already shared with you a little bit. I came down 2 years ago for the October Mega Training, did laser coaching. I had to drive down from Atlanta about 8.5 hours, and car broke down, and that was kind of like a sign to me, okay, that you need to do something about what you call your business. So quickly signed up for VIP, came down last year, had the honor of presenting for Member of the Year, and then after that, I got to come down for a group consulting day. And that's where I kind of realized where the blanket was, what that security blanket was for me. My background is I managed a world gym and was working out of that facility and then started training out of the same facility. And what was going on with me was I had that as security because I didn't have to have any overhead. I didn't have to worry about paying rent and paying trainers and all those things. And one of the big issues for me was my wife has a health issue. And so for us, my security blanket was, what do I do if I leave here? You know, what happens if something happens to my wife? And because I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to go out on my own. And so I had this security blanket that I was covered up with. So what I want to challenge you guys is we're going to talk specifically about one of the things that I've done to help grow my business. But I want you to keep in mind what is your security blanket? Maybe your security blanket is coaching. Maybe you still like to get in there and you get fulfillment from coaching your clients. Well, maybe you need to take that security blanket off. Okay? So what I want us to talk about is, again, facing your fears. Can we get that on? Other way? A little bit country, so things are a little slower for me, okay? Let's try it that way. What's going on here? All right, that's the magic one right there. All right, so how to face your fears and then build your list, okay? And I'm going to share with you how I tripled profits with joint ventures. What happened with me was after being on stage for Member of the Year, I felt so honored. I felt like I was on top of the world, and I was making some good progress. And then in that group consulting day, if you've never done one of those, you guys that were there with me, I mean, that's an intimidating place, let me tell you. But it's an amazing place because we kind of peeled back the layers and we found out, you know what, you're doing well, you're earning some good income and you're making some progress, but you're never going to reach that full potential until you do this, okay? And that for me was telling the owner this is not going to work, okay? So we're going to talk about facing your fears and then how to triple your profits with joint ventures. All right, let's see if I can do this twice in a row. Dude, I'm all over it. You can't stop me now. All right, so if Sean was up here, he'd probably be cussing at you right now because all my words are not up there, okay? Just kidding. All right, so what happened with me was from January through May last year compared to this year, you can see what I was making last year at this time, about $40,000. $8,000 a month to me back then, man, I was feeling pretty good. But what happened was I went from $40K to $129K in the same time frame. All right, so specifically what we're going to talk about today is how you can find groups to grow your database, okay? And then we're going to talk about strategies on who to target and really to establish relationships with those. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 different ones. One that worked for me that may be a little bit harder. It was something specific for me. But then 3 groups that I think will help you get that database because really it boils down to the numbers, right? We gotta have that pipeline of people, okay? All right, so what happened with me? All right, why they feel like I should be on stage talking to you is the World Gym owner and I were looking at opening up a studio together, and that was part of the security blanket issue where I was afraid to step up to him and say, you know what, I want to do it all on my own, and then I'll pay you something. So basically that's what happened once I got my butt kicked by this small group. So what happened was I said, you know, I'll rent this space from you, but if you give me your entire database, I'll give you 20% of it. So this one joint venture that took me months and months and months to work on, I went from 500 in my database to 5,000 in one big whack. Okay, so things started changing pretty quickly because of that, obviously. What's happened since then? You know, you might look at that 20% and say, man, that seems kind of crazy. That's kind of steep. You know, I don't have those kind of profits. Well, what I want to show is just a real quick recap. We really just started in February, so I've paid him $4,700 specifically for the people that have come in from his list. So far, we had 22,000 come in from boot camp, an additional $8,000 in supplements, and then in addition to that, we just now got people starting to upgrade. Okay, so people starting to get into private training, kettlebell classes, which is kind of the next tier for us. So just a real quick summary, you can see we generated about $34,000, and this is just like I said, since about mid-February. We had a couple weeks off in between our launch program and our boot camp, so we're really only about 2 months. Paid him $4,700, so we've got about almost $30,000 to the positive. Okay, so you can see what it can mean to you if you can get your hands on some lists. Okay, so specifically I want to talk about 3 lists here. Okay, my background is I actually do triathlons, so the first 2, I can really attest to you about the mindset of each one of these people and how you need to establish a relationship with them. First one's going to be running groups. They're kind of a finicky group, and I'll tell you about that. Triathlon clubs, and then what I think is the big one we should all be targeting is hair salons. Okay? So the runners, let's talk about them. How do you establish a relationship with them? You got to go run with them. If you're not a runner, you got to find somebody that will run with them. Okay? One of your staff, somebody. Because this group right here, nobody will listen to you unless you're in their little community. Okay, it's just how the runner's mind works. Another idea to how to establish a relationship, if your town has any size at all, there's 5Ks all over the place, right? So if there are, send somebody to do their warm-up. That's a great way to establish a relationship. All right, the thing that's really worked for me was I found whoever their top dog was, whoever their elite runners were, and started going to them specifically, giving away stuff and getting them results, and then that really started working. Okay, we started getting in, so now I've got a running club who's got about 1,000 members. We're getting ready to get that database, but it was because of we did these things first. Okay, so kind of think about that. That's kind of the steps you need. First, you got to just get in there and start being a part of their community, which is running. Okay, so what services specifically? This group is really finicky as far as price is concerned, okay? Runners, if you don't know, they think all you have to do is buy a pair of shoes and you just run and run and run. You don't do anything else because you're going to get bulky. It's just not going to work. So you probably want to offer them something a little bit lower priced, like if you run boot camps, maybe you run semi-private. I think that would be the service that you would offer them, okay? So this next group, all right, triathletes. Again, if your town has any size at all, there's probably a club in town. Our community is huge in the triathlon world, so it's a really large group for me. But I would venture to say there's probably a club. Maybe that's not your niche, but this triathletes, the average household income is over 100K. So you know that they can afford your services. That's a big one. Another thing into the kind of the psyche of a triathlete is we'll pay anything if we think it's going to shave like 30 seconds off of our next race. So, you know, the average triathlete will spend $6,000 to $8,000 on a bike, $3,000 to $4,000 on a pair of race wheels that they use, you know, 4 times a year. So they're willing to spend money, okay? The best way to get in with this group is to volunteer at their race. If you've never been a part of a triathlon, it's a huge amount of setup, huge amount of tear down. So I always have one of my staff members at these local races, just helping build and tear down the event here, okay? A lot of them have practices once a week. You could go to them, talk about hydration, recovery, stretching, because again, those people are willing to listen if they think it's going to make them faster, okay? All right, the thing that for them is we've already established that they typically have a little bit higher income, so kettlebell, semi-private, one-on-one, and maybe even the new program that MPE just rolled out for us, okay? So this is the big one right here, all right? Hair salons, all right? So ladies, I don't mean to offend y'all, but what do you do? What do ladies do when they're sitting in the chair with their stylist for, it's an ungodly amount of time? 2, 3 hours. Okay, they're talking, right? Come on now, y'all know y'all sitting in those chairs talking for 3 hours. So what are they talking about? Well, if that person in the chair is losing weight, they're talking about how did you do it, right? They have a captive audience for 2 or 3 hours, all right? This, I think, is one of the easiest ones that we're all missing out on. What do? Well, where do your clients go? Okay, make that connection through the client into their stylist, okay? Higher-end salons, so far I've gotten 2 salons of about 500 database, or in their database each. These are the people that I'm talking to, kind of like big fish. Talking to them about, you know what, let's do some profit sharing. You give me your list, I'll give you a check for, I'm offering 10% is what I'm starting out with, okay? Unorganized, the smaller salons, they're a little bit harder to work with, and you'll know right off the bat. I was just talking to Randy a little while ago. He kind of does a pre-qualification with people he's talking to about these joint ventures. You know, he's kind of pre-qualifying them for their database and how it's all working, okay? They're a little bit harder to work with, but you can still get some stuff. This group, I would definitely recommend boot camp, that fun, high-energy type of environment, okay? So hair salons, I think we should all tap into hair salons. All right, so the next thing here. All right, what do you do once you have your first one? And this was actually on a call. Sean suggested this. I actually took a picture of the first check that I wrote to World Gym, and now that's my social proof. I take that in every time I'm sitting down and talking with one of these owners of mainly the hair salons is what I'm doing right now. That's huge. You know, they see that little check. What small business owner wouldn't like, you know, an extra $1,000, $2,000 for just sharing their list? I know I would. All right, so a couple things to keep in mind, things that you can learn from my mistakes is when the emails go out, make sure they're from your joint venture, or if it's a postcard, make sure it's from your joint venture. Okay, don't send it from Jeremy Gritton, Gritton's Training Systems. Okay, make sure it's from World Gym. World Gym and I wanted to help you make 2011 the best year ever. Okay. Another tip is make sure you earn their trust. I made that mistake at first. I just started sending out emails that said, you know, come join us, we're great, we're awesome, instead of building that relationship first. And that was one of those things that I wish I would have done more of. Okay, so once you have your first one, that's going to kind of be your fuel to get to the next one. Okay, the last stuff I want to talk about, actually, I'm not going to use my notes on this because just kind of talking to some of you guys last night and today, there was a call that we had, and what we did, we talked about staffing. Who in here has trouble staffing and finding staff? I know that for me it was a huge problem as I tried to step out of the business. So finding staff. So I want to give you guys just a little side note here in addition to how to grow your database is how to find good qualified leads that are going to fit your mission statement. Okay? One of the things that we do is we actually started bringing in people that have interest into a small group setting, anywhere from 3 to 8 people. Okay? And we lay it all on the line for them, you know, up front, probably what you do already. And we tell them, here's our mission statement, here's how it works. And you would be set up as an apprenticeship if you qualify. Okay, they work for a month for us for free. I mean, that's some good overhead right there, right? A month for free. So they do 10 classes, they shadow, they start team teaching for us, and what that is, that's their interview with us. And I'll tell you, you'd be surprised how many people are willing to do that. Okay, but the thing that kind of helped separate us was what we did was in this group process, we said, here's a book, the Go-Giver book. Okay, if you haven't read that book, I would really encourage that book. All right, but the Go-Giver, we said, this is kind of who we are. This is how our business operates. Read this book. When you're done with it, you call our general manager, you can get an interview with us. And you'd be surprised. I mean, we're giving away some books, but you'd be surprised. If somebody calls back quickly and they've read that book, man, that's a huge sign that these are the kind of people that we want to work with. Okay, so that wasn't in my notes, but I wanted to encourage you guys. I'm telling you, it's been a powerful thing to be able to find qualified leads instead of wasting 2 or 3 or 4 months on somebody, training them and spending all this time, and then they don't work out. So I just felt like I needed to share that with the group because I know that was a struggle of mine. So the biggest thing I can tell you is, you know, what is your security blanket? Is it coaching? Is it working on technology? That's a recent one for me. you know, we're all here to grow, right? They're challenging us to grow. So take off your security blanket, whatever that is in your business, all right, and do that one thing that you probably don't want to do because it's probably the thing you need to do the most, okay? So they tell me now I have to open up for Q&A. So if you have a question and answer, come up to one of the mics for us. I like kind of being in control of the room up here, Sean. I feel kind of powerful. Yes, sir.
Your 20%, if they upgrade to different classes outside of that original agreement, kettlebell, do you tier it down, give them 5% off of that, or is it just the initial?
It is 20% off of
anything they do?
Any group program.
Okay.
So any group program, if they transition into one-on-one or couple training, that's pure profit. And we set that in the initial agreement. So that's incentive for those owners. Is the longer they stay with us, you know, you could start seeing residual income. Okay. Yeah, it's a great question. Yes, Eric. Eric, I'll take your question, sir.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Jeremy, talk about you mentioned with the joint venture, you said get their list. Are they sending out promotions on your behalf, or are they physically giving you their list and then you're promoting to that list?
They're physically giving me the list, and we load it into Rainmaker.
Have you encountered any issues when you ask for that list?
Yeah.
Okay, talk about how you work through that. I think everybody would be interested.
Yeah. So you know that's a great question. You know, you're asking somebody to give you. Somebody asked me for my list, I'd be like, get out of my face, dude. I'll slap you. So basically, what's happening is, and I didn't realize I was doing this until I was talking to Randy earlier, kind of pre-qualifying. Most all of them aren't doing anything with their list. So when I start talking about, you know, it's going to go out to your people as a bonus, you know, something like a free week of boot camp because you're such a valued customer of NV Hair Salon. And that did a lot of it, just saying to them, you know, it's going to be a benefit. And Eric, I think you wrote something like this one time, the Recession Buster or something. That helped a lot of the business owners to be able to see, okay, it's going to be provided as a service, number one, as a bonus for being their customer, not mine. So that is probably the biggest way I overcame that obstacle. And a lot of them, like I said, weren't doing anything. So this was kind of a way for them to get re-engaged, and I'm paying for all the service. Yeah.
Actually, it's two really short questions. The first one: did you put your name in the send out? I mean, or did you put the business's name that you're doing?
The business's name.
From
yeah.
the
Sorry if I wasn't clear on that. Yeah. When I send out an email or a flyer, it's all about them, their logo, their names in the who it's from email box, and then we're like way down the list. We tell them kind of who we are, but then we talk about their company or that joint venture of ours.
Got it. And then the second part was on the Go Giver book. Can you explain how you did that again?
Sure. Yeah. So as far as our staffing and how we're trying to find qualified leads for our staff, they would come into the group training or kind of a group environment with us, and we would just talk about our company, our vision, our mission, and what we stood for. And then when that was over, we would hand them a copy of the Go Giver book. And we said, this is your homework. This is who we are. Read this. When you're done with it, that's when you can call and set up a one-on-one interview with our general manager. Great. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, Audra. Did y'all know that Audra was the person who beat me in Member of the Year? Woo! I'm still extremely bitter about that. I got to tell y'all that she deserved it, though. Unbelievable.
I just wanted to add on to what you were just talking about. I did that actually, and we never even talked about it.
Great minds think alike.
I'm telling you, I had over 200 people on Saturdays in January out in Vasona Park, and I only had 3 trainers. And so my idea was, I'm not going to bring on 6 new trainers. I'm going to have them, they're going to intern. And they're going to, and except for you said 30 days, I did it for 3 months. And
nice.
I'm telling you,
3 months of free labor.
I got the coolest trainers working for me now that love what I do, and I'm so glad you tied in the Go Giver because that's like the absolute perfect
awesome.
tie-in. So I just wanted to share. Yeah,
that's great, y'all. I'm telling you, people I'm talking to are kind of surprised. Like, people will work for you for free for a month? Well, you know, I'm kind of a Donald Trump fan. I know he's a cheesy goofball, but I'm kind of his fan, you know. And that show is kind of where we got that from. It's an apprenticeship. You know what? Actually, the name of our company is A Cut Above. If you want to be a cut above, you got to prove it. You got to earn it. Same thing you're doing. That's awesome, Audra.
I've had a 10-year relationship with a salon, and I mean, they're like family to me. And I get, you know, some good referrals from them, and this has definitely reinvigorated some ideas.
Right.
But how do I approach other salons without, you know, kind of offending the relationship I've had with the other salon for years?
That's a good one. And what I did originally was the very first salon that I went to, I said I'm only going to use 3 salons in the area. So maybe that's something you could utilize, just saying, you know what, we have a fantastic relationship. You appreciate my business. I want to grow my business and touch more lives. I'm just going to open this up to 2 more people, and maybe you're basing it along the lines of the financial side of it. You know, maybe they get a higher percentage or something like that.
Well, part of it is the referral reciprocation, because I've sent them a ton of clients.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, you have
so-
more of a strategic alliance with them. So I would say these guys would be who to talk to on that
Okay,
one.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Are y'all cutting me off? Yeah, she's cutting me off, y'all. So I would stay up here all day. So, but thank y'all very much, and good luck to you.